right, so welcome to Game Plan Sunday. Today is January 17, 2021. We had a pretty interesting week in the markets last week as the broader indexes finished down. We had the Dow Jones that finished down by 0.9%. The S&P 500 fell by 1.5%, and the NASDAQ fell by 1.5% as well. So very interesting week. Lots of drama. Again, we had social media lockdowns on the president, a lot of tech companies straight up, I guess attacking the president from the prior week's, rally that they had, or whatever you want to call it. Impeachment. President Trump was also impeached. So that was interesting. We had Chinese banned. The Chinese government ban on Chinese companies. That's what we did in our public markets, ban their companies. And also we had earnings season that kicked off at the end of the week. So very interesting week here. So I would just like to kick off the session tonight with our news feed, of course, just because there's a lot of juicy news here. And then we'll go over, our outlook going forward. But yeah, definitely, I must say, very interesting week. And I think that this week coming up is going to probably be even more interesting with the inauguration and everything. But just keep in mind, tomorrow, Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day, so the markets will be closed. So you guys can just relax and chill for that reason. Do some homework, do some research, okay? It's always something that you could do. But I just say, relax. All right, so it's a couple of juicy articles and good information here on the website, Wallstreetjackboyz.com. All right, so what I'm going to do is switch my annotation to red. And here's an article here that was posted. V-shaped recovery is in tatters and Wall Street doesn't seem to care. This economist, Stephen Roach, this is what he said. He's, again, Yale University senior fellow Stephen Roach, who served as Morgan Stanley Asia chairman, sees signs that the U.S. economy is relapsing into a recession. All right. So here we go. We come out of a recession as far as the stock market concerns are to basically go back into another one. So they try to quickly get us out of the recession, and basically it hasn't worked. As you guys can see, we recap on what happened last year, right? When we had the crash, we had, the COVID scare, and then we had the oil markets, we had the stock market crash after, the oil situation popped off. And then we have, all this government, intervention that comes in, and they start feeding, the markets with a lot of money, trying to get people to stimulate the economy over again. But as you guys can see, we haven't seen this V-shaped recovery. V-shaped recovery is like, you go down and you come back where you left off at. Well, we came down and then we came up just a little bit. So it's kind of like what would you say, a backwards J or so. But it's not going to come back up to that top. And we talked about this before when everything kicked off from Berkshire's meeting, where I was actually, I do my walks and everything, and I was listening to the meeting, and Warren Buffett was talking about, when the Great Depression had hit. Now, prior to that time, you guys know I was heavily studying Ray Dalio's framework about big debt crisis. And it was very interesting. This volume here is crazy. So I already had a lot of good insight, and I was already, making my predictions and stuff like that. It was the year prior. But when Warren Buffett came out, he talked about that. He was talking about how it took like 30 years for this thing to recover, for the fear to come out of the markets, for people to get back to kind of like a normalcy, if you will. And he was, describing that. But he also wanted to try to keep, people, positive on America. So he was talking about never bet against America, this, that, and the third. But even in this so-called recovery, even Warren Buffett has broken so many of his rules, and you're talking about a guy who never invests in technology. I mean, most of his portfolio right now is technology stocks. It's crazy, right? So again, if you guys take a look at the Legends and Gurus group, you do yourself some homework and go into that group here and study the greats. And then I've also posted their portfolio holdings so you can see what they're holding, right? And maybe you can, piggyback off of some ideas that you have for your own portfolio. It's here. It's right here on the website. You can't get that from these other trading sites. So they don't do nothing like this. But I can do whatever you guys want. So that's what we did. But just remind me that, again, it's all about confidence. It's a psychological game that we're in. They want people to believe that things are great. And in reality, they actually are not. But as long as people believe it is, then, they can do, all kind of things as long as they can keep people, positive about it. And so anyhow, these economists, they're looking at data. They don't give a damn about how you feel. We're looking at things from an objective, perspective and point of view. And so and a lot of policies that the government and, the government try to pass, and these corporations are coming along these things as well. These are all for social, emotional things. It's just weird to me. Just have to scratch my head on it because these corporations, they are just like the dumbest. I just don't even understand. These corporations are like the dumbest, and they've been doing this ever since the I don't know about prior times, but it's caught my attention ever since the LGBT stuff, where corporations have been getting into this political space where we just need corporations to do what corporations do, and that's to deliver value in the marketplace, like that's what we just need you to do. But the fact that they're coming on into this political space, it's crazy to me. And I think that, because people, you have all these companies that have marketing teams, right? You gotta have a marketing team, right? And the marketing team is like, hey, you should do this because this is what people are talking about, and we can get the people excited about our company. So we're seeing that happening, like, ever since the whole LGBT stuff, where companies started coming out, say, hey, we support LGBT and all this other stuff, because you don't want to be the company that's not out there saying that, because then they could turn around and start attacking you or whatever the case may be. And, these corporations, they're this is mob rule. They're going into whatever's mob rule. So if it's the feminists, the womenists, if they're pushing this, that, and the third, and then corporations, they got their marketing people say, hey, we gotta support this cause. And so we're seeing all that happen. And so ever since the LGBT situations, and then with this Trump situation, this is what's happening, right? You have all these corporations that's coming out and like, we've never seen this happen ever in history, not especially with a president. But the fact that they are copycatting each other. It's not that they even really care, right? Because the corporations, the way that they run, right? If they really wanted to do this justice stuff that you talk about, they'll be out of business, because that's not the way that corporations run. I was listening to another economist. He was saying the same thing. He's actually a Joe Biden supporter, but he was saying how, it's all fine and dandy, that's good, but he was saying that even if these corporations started changing and trying to do some kind of justice, measure KPIs into their goals and stuff like that, because they're talking about reimagining capitalism, right? But it's so stupid, because that's just not how it works. And it can't work that way. The way that people want these systems to work for them, it just won't work that way. Something's going to have to give. And so we'll talk about some of that here in a few, where you guys will see, with the economic data. But it's a slippery slope when you have these companies playing politics. And the fact that, most of them are, Democratic, with the Democratic Party. These are not conservative companies. Most of the people that run them are Democrats. So they the Democrats got technology in their back pocket to wield as a weapon, and that's what they're doing. So not only do you have, say, Joe Biden, he won the election and everything, but now they are out for blood to like destroy Trump on a personal level. Now, politics is never supposed to be personal. It's politics, right? We've been having politics forever, right? One side win, the other side lose. It's always, the pendulum, swings. But when you start like trying to destroy people personally, it's kind of like, wow. And then the corporations are facilitating it. They say, oh, we're going to stop our services. Why? It's because of that. What I was just telling you guys, if you don't support what the mob rule is, then you'll be ostracized. And then, even if you don't respond, then you're looked up as someone who's actually helping the side that they hate. And you may not even have a side, but because your silence to them is, insulting to them. So it's like, you have to pick a side. And if you don't, you pick the side. So, and the corporations, they don't want to, so they follow in suit. And it has nothing to do with what I need for you to do. Half of them can barely do the things that they need to be doing for their customers in the first place. How are you going to go out here and be trying to do stuff against anybody, doesn't matter, president, whoever. Your goal is to generate, profit, to generate revenue for your shareholders, and value to your customers. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be about. But now they're in politics now. And this is a dangerous thing because they can control speech and all this other stuff. So anyway, I just thought that I would, speak on that just for a second, because it needs to be said that these companies, they need to stay in their place and they need to just do what they do. And then the people, we can do what we need to do. We don't need people silencing us. And it's a dangerous thing when you silence your enemy. You always need to know, even if you don't like somebody on the side, but if you silence them, how the hell are you going to know what they're going to do, what they got up their sleeves? It's a dangerous thing. You got to be very careful. I don't know what to expect this week coming up with this inauguration thing. My expectation is that things will be a peaceful transfer of power. But I don't know. When I look into the markets here, I think that the markets are as confused as I am, actually. And I see some risk factors in here. And we started to take some positions for that risk on Friday. So we'll talk about that in a second. But anyway, on an economic level, you guys see this economist here says, nope, not happening. This interview here, this is my man Wes. You guys know Wes is in the group. He asked me about, he always asks me about some good books and things like that to read. There's this book called Dark Pools. It's one of my favorite books. And, I recommend it to a lot of people, especially in the markets. But this guy, Haim Bodek, legendary, one of the guys who helped create the plumbing of the stock market as we know it today. This guy is like, he's, I think, on the crypto side now, but he's basically the bot king. He used to write the robots, the bots for the big banks. And he would write the bots that kill all the other bots. Like, he was that guy. And then the market switched on him. They flipped the game on him. So he had a lawsuit out against them. He spilt the beans on them because they basically, took him out, kind of like how they doing the president now. But anyway, this is this guy. The book is about him. It's a lot of other guys who started the plumbing, Michael Lewis book. I recommend the audio book, though, because the book reads so well that I wish they have a movie. I would love for this to be a movie. This would be lit. But the book is so descriptive, you could just close your eyes and just envision it all. Like, they go into the details of these guys, how they look and all that. So anyway, it's a really good book. I posted this thing here. This is a chat with traders. I think that's what it's called, a podcast. He's asking about podcasts, stuff like that. But here's one you can listen to, this here. It's not really nothing exciting, because these guys are super nerds. They don't have no kind of personality. But the book Dark Pools, yeah, Michael Lewis did his thing in that. So make sure you check out Dark Pools. Definitely. China bank regulators move to cool gold rush. So this is an article about gold. It's posted in the Gold and Silver Group. This is a past article from back in July, but it's just a point of reference for people to check and see how China's moving towards certain asset classes. Here's another research article that is posted here for you guys. If you click on read more, you can check it out. It's on the website, but this is an exclusive, research article that's going through some things, some good details about the markets and stuff like that. So you can check it out. And here's another one here on metals and mining. I try to post them here. It's exclusive stuff that you don't have access to, but you guys can check it out because we got it here on the website. So I'll post it for you. But we had the Nfib Small Business Optimism Index. All right, I'm going to read this one here to you guys so you can see this. Not the whole thing, but just go through it here. But the Nfib numbers that came out. And this is very, very interesting, okay? Because this is, you get insight from business owners and how they feeling about the economy and stuff. So if you check this out, it says that this index declined 5.5 points in December to 95.9, falling below the average index value since 1973 of 98. So this is not a good thing. The optimism is dying. 9 of 10 index components decline. So 9 out of 10, they decline and only 1 improved. Owners expecting better business conditions over the next 6 months declined 24 points to a net negative 16%. So business owners are not feeling good about the economy. We just saw Stephen Roach talking about, another recession coming. And these guys here in the business sector are like, they're not optimistic. So it said this month's drop in small business optimism is historically very large, and most of the decline was due to the outlook of sales and business conditions in 2021. So their outlooks are not positive. Small businesses are concerned about the potential new economic policy in the new administration and the increased spread of COVID-19 that is causing renewed government mandated business closures across the nations. So business owners, they don't like, being locked down. In fact, today I took my wife to brunch at this nice place called Amelie's Cafe. It's a French bakery. And, we sit there and, we go there and it's a beautiful establishment. It has so many kind of pastries and all, just beautiful, right? And they have this huge space and all the tables have chairs sitting on them because they can't house anybody to sit in their space because of these government regulations. And yet they had like a good 4 or 5 employees that were actually at work that day, right? So you have, employees that's working. You don't have any volume, no people coming in. You got to have sales. You have all this real estate that you're paying for, right? Because you got to pay for this real estate. But that real estate per square foot is not generating any revenue, not at all. Straight up empty. And you got all these beautiful pastries and foods and teas and, it's French. It's really nice, fancy stuff, right? And when they make that stuff, it can't stay there forever. Like it has an expiration. So if people don't consume it, then you throw it away. So it becomes very wasteful. So this is the problems when you have government intervention. That's what we talk about, the free markets. You got to let the free markets do what they do because we could do it much better than the government. Yet you have people who are totally uneducated on these matters. We need the government to do this and government do that. They tell you right now, you're looking at a straight up fool. They don't understand the markets. And so, like Mr. T says, I pity the fool. Like I pity these fools because they don't understand what they're asking for. Like you're asking for oppression. You're asking for depression because that's what's going to actually happen because they're confusing justice and moral things and, where economic calculation is required. All right. So you have to have a different lens. You feel me? And they don't have that lens. So hopefully you guys are getting this information. I'll try to give it to you. I don't know no better way to break it down because if you listen to the geniuses out here, you're definitely going to be lost because they don't deliver it the way I deliver it. You just be lost because they're nerds. So anyway, this report, check it out on the website. Basically, you're just looking at the optimism and it is not good. This was not good. So that came out. Job openings and labor turnover, we can see that here. The number of job openings was little change at 6.5 million. Hires were little change at 6 million. Let's see. Layoffs and discharges rates increased to 1.4%. So they have more layoffs. So again, people are not working. They don't have money. Who's going to be spending money? And remember the economy, the way that they measure GDP and stuff, most of that is actually spending. And I know Terrence, he was excited about, the saying that one person's spending is another person's income. Well, that's true. I mean, when you spend money, somebody is, that's somebody's income. Wherever you spend money, whether you buy the latest J's or the Kanye West, Michael Jordan's benefiting when you buy his, his shoes. Not only him, but, Phil Knight and, Nike and then you have Adidas and Kanye when you buy his sneakers. And so that goes into his income. That's why he says he's a billionaire, right? I'm a billionaire because, you make him a billionaire, right? So, but that's how the economy grows when you spend money. So the whole game that we're in is to get people to spend money. And whenever you see people stop spending money, you have a major problem. So this is why we have the feds doing what they're doing because they're trying to get people to spend money. This is why we have the government doing what they're doing because they're trying to get people to spend money. They just passed the $600 thing. Joe Biden's policy supposed to pass another $1,400 very soon. As soon as he take office, is one of the first things on his list is to get another $1,400 out there. So that should give people a total of $2,000. And it's not $2,000 for you to be putting under your mattress and to be stashing, to be putting in your savings. That's $2,000 so you go out there and spend the money. And so what's interesting is what if people don't spend the money? What would the government do then? Their response is to do the same. We need another stimulus. You see what I'm saying? I think that the smart thing to do is let them continue to, give money and don't spend the money, just stash it, right? But the problem is that those dollars that are saved when they come out and hit the markets, this is when you're going to see the problems, okay? You're not seeing the problems yet. But when that money comes back out into the marketplace, then you're going to have the invisible enemy called inflation. And this could easily turn into hyperinflation if, that was to happen, if we had this pent up, dollars that just come back into the market, flood the markets when people start buying And then what happens is people, start spending just because you don't want the prices to get so far away from you because you're chasing inflation. And that fear is what causes hyperinflation. So once you see inflation, then you go hyperinflation. That's because people are trying to get things before the prices start changing. That could happen. Anyway, what we see here, SoftBank, they sold $2 billion in shares in Uber. Okay. Interesting thing, because I think Uber shares went up a little bit after they sold off. So I find that interesting. Fitch is pessimistic on gold. Here's a little article here. You guys can check and see why they are pessimistic on gold. Okay. This is the Treasury yield curve. This right here is very interesting. You guys know that we've always used this in our analysis. It's on our website. And the time in the markets class, if you haven't done it, make sure you check it out and help you to understand these economic cycles and things like that. But we were able to time the market. I wrote the article, all this stuff, predicted on time, because this yield curve thing is, again, 100% accurate. Whenever it shows, you get that recession. So Treasury yields is very interesting. As you guys know, the gray one is what the Feds control. Blue is the market. And the yield curve, the bond market is basically the oracle. They you pay attention to see the way it's moving because they're trying to tell you something. So they get ahead of things. And so this is interesting because we're seeing the 10-year notes here are rising pretty steep. The Feds is suppressing this one. So it's, the question is, what is the bond market seeing that we're not seeing? That requires more studies. Again, you guys can check out the chart right here on the website. Let's see what else we have. Bitcoin, funny business, European Central Bank chief. Okay, yep, she wants to regulate Bitcoin. So that's interesting. Federal regulators are asking Tesla to recall about 158,000 vehicles over safety concerns. It's got to have some stories to try to get these things, get these crazy stocks, pushed down. GameStop had a crazy price jump. And this is one stock that I just don't understand. For me, I have no idea how they're even still in business. I'm a gamer. I haven't bought a physical game in at least 5 years or more. But this is a place that people can go and exchange their games. You bought a game, you finish with it, you go and sell it to GameStop. They'll give you like a few bucks, kind of like a video game pawn shop, if you will. They'll turn around and sell that game back to someone else. They also, have like, consoles. You can buy consoles and other gear, used gear and new gear, stuff like that. But, the market has been changing to you being able to do everything online and all this other stuff. But yet, they had a crazy pop, GameStop. And the crazy thing is the analysts are saying that, that pop was, basically something they couldn't even expect, but they're still pessimistic on GameStop, as I am as well. But that was a good move there. So you guys can check that out. This was me letting you guys know that the Feds were speaking. So if you've had this news feed, then you would have knew this. Again, if you're on Facebook, or any of these garbage platforms, your news feed is not healthy. So definitely make sure you check Wall Street Jackboyz daily so you can have that healthy news feed. And I'm reading straight off the news feed here for you guys. So I post the stuff throughout the days. So if it's important, it'll be posted. U.S. consumer prices rose 1.4%. This is just a little chart here. We'll go over the CPI numbers so you guys can see that. Legalizing marijuana boosts junk food sales. Weed stocks is popping. Right. You guys know my weed stock post got banned off of Facebook, and then they reinstated it and apologized for banning that post. But it was weird because that was the same time that the weed stocks were booming. Right. And so anyway, you can check that out there. And if you don't have the weed stock watch list, then let me know and I'll make sure to get you the weed stock watch list so you can have that. CPI numbers. Let's dive into this real quick. The consumer price index for all consumers increased 0.4% after rising 2.2%. Increased, let's see, over the last 12 months, the all items index increased 1.4% before seasonal adjustments. So you guys can see how this thing is reading here. You take it from here. This was, from the crash, the pandemic, people stopped spending, right? And then you get the stimulus and all the other stuff and bingo, you're back up, right? Then you come back down. We have a lack of stimulus, but then we get this for the holidays. It's Thanksgiving. You'll spend your last to spend time with your family. That's why they create these holidays to get people to spend money. But, people, we enjoy spending time with family. So you go and spend money, even if you don't have it, you go take out credit or whatever the case may be to make your loved ones happy. So we got, some uptick back here in December. But remember, we got that $600. I say, sometimes I say 600, and my daughter, she say, Daddy, it's not 100. Like, I know, I'll be trying to sound ignorant on purpose. So anyway, $600. All right. So that's $600, in January, this month, we'll see if that comes out. My expectation that inflation will continue to go higher. So again, for those who understand, inflation, the CPI is tracking inflation. This is the cost of living. When this goes up, this is not good for the people. It's not good for the citizens. Your cost of living, food, and everything else is going up, and your dollars are basically you're witnessing the loss of purchasing value in your dollar as inflation, as your cost of living goes up. Actually, it's the dollar, the value of the dollar that's going down. So anyway. So the CPI, this is not good, but this is what the feds want to do. The feds want to get this number up, to 2%, over 2% now. And they are struggling with doing so. They actually cannot hit that number. And so their goal is to spend until they can hit that number. And this is a very dangerous recipe for hyperinflation. And like I just said, we talked about the V-shaped recovery. That never happened. It never happened. And, all that money, think about it. People was getting $600 a week who were probably making, what was it, $300 a week? I don't know how the unemployment thing went, but an extra $600 on a weekly basis of just free money. Okay. And that did not stimulate the economy. So what in the world do they plan on doing? I think that this time around, it's supposed to be $300. And I think Joe Biden got it up to $400 because they said the $600 was too much. But yeah, they still never got the inflation. They never got the inflation. Anyway, 965,000 job losses. Okay, this is not good at all, guys. That's what I was telling you right here. 965,000. From these previous months, we've been pretty much at somewhere around 750,000 job losses. But now we had 965,000. Okay, and you can see the previous week right here, 700. It was revised down to 784,000. So we jumped from 784,000 to 965,000, people filing for unemployment. This is not good. So again, these factors are deflationary. So that is, hurting the inflation hypothesis because you don't have people working, people not spending, you're not going to get what you want. Here's Powell speaking. So if you didn't catch it, go back and catch it. Make this a part of your homework. For the crypto lovers, you got Christine Lagarde. We talked about that earlier with the Bitcoin regulations. That's there. AeroVironment. This right here was a situation about the drones. Ron and I think Justin, somebody, these guys was making the plays and the drone stocks this week, which the drone stocks was popping. So you could check this out if you want to know more about the drone stocks. If you want that drone stock watch list, let me know. I'll get that the watch list out to you. Let me just go up some more. Wall Street rises as stimulus hopes counter bleak jobs data. If you can read this, I don't know if you guys can check it out, but click it and see if it'll allow you to check it out. I think it will. So Wall Street gained grounds on Thursday with the Dow and NASDAQ briefly touching record highs as investors' hopes for fresh fiscal stimulus ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's pandemic aid proposal were countered by weakening labor market conditions. Well, we just talked about these weakening labor market conditions. So you would think that the markets would be down, but on hopes of stimulus, Wall Street pumps up. And, we talked about it several times, but that stimulus is going to Wall Street, baby. So this is why you need to be over here getting some of that money, because this situation ain't going to change. Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin aims to fly first passengers on its space tourism rocket as early as April. You got these private tech gurus that's in the space industry doing better than the legends themselves. The Northrop Grummans and Raytheons and Lockheed Martins, these tech gurus like Jeff Bezos and Sir Richard Branson and Elon Musk, these guys are, they're getting those taxpayer dollars because the government is funding it all, and they're aiming for those contracts. But anyway, so this is an interesting thing because you have people that's going to be willing to spend, millions of dollars to see something that's not even outer space, but it's really high up. So I think that's actually interesting. But if you take a look at from the ground, 0.0, airplanes fly at like 30K. So let's just say it's 30,000 high. You see the little speck in the air. It's really small, and you're down there, and you can see the airplane there. And, military, high altitude planes doing about 60,000 feet in the air. High altitude balloons going up to about 150,000 feet in the air. And then you have, rockets and stuff like that that's down here. Then the ISS and all that stuff's supposed to be somewhere up here. This is still not outer space, though. See, outer space will be like way out here. And so what happens is you have these guys, they'll launch their stuff probably around here. And people will be sitting in this level and they say, hey, we can see the Earth. It was really nice. And you spend like $1 million on it. But this whole area, anything under here it's called lower Earth orbit. You have to go outside of this to be considered outer space, like Star Trek, when you see Star Trek type stuff, outer space. So, but you remember the ISS itself is in lower Earth orbit. So anyway, I just thought that's interesting if you're into that nerd stuff. But that's what these guys are going to be making money doing. And I think today NASA just announced that they're supposed to be having a mission to go back to the moon, but they basically had to call it off because of some issues that happened. And it just announced today issues that just happened, and they sent it there like 4 years outside of some guideline about something else. Anyway, they're just not going to be able to do it. So that's the reason I was telling people before I was a little pessimistic on it, but I know people want to be lied to. They like the hype. People like the hype, man. Anyway, so check that out. Poshmark, this company went public this week. Poshmark, Posh, Poshmark, and they had a little fall, right? And I don't know much about the company, but I know that my daughter, she actually uses this company. She be up there slanging stuff. I don't know that she sells like, clothes and stuff like that on there. But I drop her handle in the chat. It's at SHI0506 on Poshmark. And I was just letting her know because I know she'd be selling stuff. And I was like, hey, this company went, they went public. So, you may want to consider investing since you use their services. I don't know much about it, but she knows a lot more about it, and she sells clothes and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that company there went public. Xiaomi shares, they fell 10% as the U.S. adds smartphone maker to its blacklist. So again, that whole Chinese beef stuff is still going to be going on. We expect things to de-escalate a little bit, but Joe Biden is still going to carry forth I think some of Trump's, hard stance policies on China. But with them doing this ban, they actually decided not to do a ban on Alibaba. And I think it was another company, I think Baidu, like whoever the biggest players, they didn't, ban them. So my hypothesis going into this week was the setup that I had in Alibaba. The trade I had, it was a week prior. It was Alibaba. It was sold off really bad. It was oversold. It hit the bottom and started to rebound back. So I did a spread in there, a week spread, got 100% off of that trade. It was a phenomenal trade. But again, these situations, these plays, they're posted in the chat room. So, you guys make sure you get into the chat room, which is right here. So make sure you check it out right here on the website on a daily basis. Ron came through. He posted on the news feed. Again, you guys got some info posted in the feed, okay? This is, again, about the drone life. Ron, he came through with the drone stocks maybe 2-3 months ago. So we already built the watch list about this and stuff. And then we got that pop in the drones this past week, which was really nice. So it'd been great if you guys could have made some money off of that. So shout out to Ron for that. David Rosenberg, while comparisons between Bitcoin and gold are absurd. If you want to know more about that, just check that out. Crypto going public, gold outlook. All right, cool. So here we are, earnings this week. We had earnings to kick off at the end of last week with the banks. The banks actually did a great job but the bank's balance sheet, they got a lot of capital that they're preparing for destruction. And so, investors ask, well, why you got all this money sitting on the side? This is, it's because the defaults, the defaults have not, ranked in. A lot of things that it was preparing for hasn't came through yet. And they're not overly optimistic. They know that risk can still come through. And so they have to have all this excess capital on the side to try to weather those storms. So the bank stocks actually sold off. They actually sold off, although they did, pretty great. So like JP Morgan and them. So anyway, we got more of that. This week, earnings kickoff. Remember, Monday, markets is closed. I don't even know what's going on with Logitech here. That's going to be interesting because markets closed from the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. But Tuesday, you got Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Charles Schwab, Halliburton, State Street. I can't even read that one anyway. You just got the banks popping off, and then that's going to be before the open. And after the market closed, Netflix is going to be reporting. I'm going to be interested in see what's happening with Netflix because I don't know if you guys been watching, but it's been a lot of trash out there. But we'll see how they play out. So Netflix popping, and Netflix got a lot of competitors too, like Disney. Disney Plus came through with The Mandalorian. I don't know if you've seen The Mandalorian, but yeah, Mandalorian ate some lunch for Netflix, no doubt. But that's over now until the next season come through with the Star Wars stuff. So we'll see how that play out. JB Hunt, Interactive Brokers. Who else is notable? So again, more financial. So we're looking at the financials here. On Wednesday, we got P&G. Most of the things that's in your house is made from Procter & Gamble. So that's going to be interesting to see that. What else we got? United Health Group, Morgan Stanley, more banks, ASML, Fastenal, U.S. Bancorp, BNY Mellon, Citizens. Again, more banks. Discover after the close on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we get a couple of tech names. We got Intel, we got IBM, Intuitive. These again after the close. CSX, Seagate. Before, more banks again, Key Bank, you got the insurance companies, Travelers. And then Friday, you got Ally, Schlumberger, First Horizon, Huntington. So again, this week, we're basically looking at the financials. But remember Wednesday, what's happening on Wednesday? Well, Wednesday is the inauguration day. I think at 12 noon, Biden's supposed to, get the transfer of power. But again, I think it's a lot of uncertainty around it. Nobody really know what's going to, how this thing is going to take place. So, but just understand that that's what we're looking at. So holiday on Monday, we got a short week in the markets. So you don't want to be putting on too many crazy positions. Wednesday, the inauguration. This may be a good thing, or this may be a very volatile event, depending on what happens. Nobody knows yet. So tread light, just understand what's happening in the markets. All right, so come over here. 2 hour space. Here's the S&P 500. We already breached the zone. I'm going to remove this zone here. All right, so you guys can see right at the 1618, from the 100 moving average, we came up here. We're getting a rejection up here. So it's going to be interesting to see if we get the markets to come down. Now, you guys know the theme about the dollar. If the dollar goes up, this hurts the equities markets. Okay. So take a look at the dollar. This is the US dollar. As you guys can see, this floor here, it held pretty nice. Caught a buy trigger that was right here in the zone. And we got a squeeze on this thing here. Now, long term, I believe that the dollar will continue doing what it's doing now. But in the short term, I think we'll get a bounce play like how we see here. Boom, coming up to the 100. Boom, coming to the 100. It gets rejected. And so in this case, because the setup is actually looking, pretty interesting with a bounce off of a support zone. We have a buy trigger here. We got a squeeze in there. We're squeezing up against the 50 moving average. But I think that we can at least get to this 100 moving average before the next correction come in. So we put on some hedges for, for equities, just in case equities go down. And I decided to do it in the dollar. And those setups are up already. It has some very, very cheap calls. Okay. And that was another thing. So the risk is very low on this type of situation. And ideally don't want to see it happen, but if it happens, we're going to make some money off of it. So that's how that's going to play out. Already positive on that already. And if you want to play the dollar, you can just go into the UP, this ETF right here, and get busy with those calls. They're very cheap. And then the VIX. Let's just take a look at the VIX here. And I want to take a look at the VIX from this view here on a weekly, because what's interesting, you guys can see this line that I have here. You can see this line here that VIX has been holding here, greatly. Let me switch this to yellow. And it's been bouncing off of this zone, okay? So we've been bouncing off of this zone, and bingo, there was a bounce there. Bingo, there was a bounce here. We reached a little bit, but then we came back up, and that's where we're still bouncing. But we're in that over, sold territory, as you can see right here. And we got a buy trigger that's in there, right? And we can see on the fast stochastics, we got some shift in the momentum is going up, trend is going up. The squeeze doesn't really matter here, okay? We got a squeeze, but it doesn't really matter here, not to me. But what I can see here is that the VIX is low, it's oversold. The only way you get some oversold stuff, you'll get a bounce. So again, we take a look back at this place in the past, and we saw what happened, right? Look at this time in the past, and we saw what happened. And so we're at that point again, okay? I don't know what the catalyst will be or could be, but I just know that that's what the VIX is looking like. It's set up to bounce, okay? So again, this got me on edge just a tad bit here coming into this week, because this inauguration and Trump stuff, I don't have any idea, but you want to be prepared for that. All right. Let's take a look at a couple of names here, because I know we're at time. So you guys got a couple of setups you want to take a look at, drop them in a queue. A couple of interesting setups that I have noticed coming into this week. Because again, last week we had, a weed stocks that did a thing. We had the drone stocks did a thing. We had energy stocks. It was crazy. And I'm looking at home improvement stocks this week. Okay. Home improvement stocks is looking interesting. Got a little flag in here. This is a weekly chart, but that setup is looking pretty nice. Actually, when you're getting, bingo, and that normally happens. And I'm seeing this setup pretty consistent. This is Home Depot, so I'm liking Home Depot. We take a look at Lowe's. It's got a squeeze on it also, and it's got a buy trigger as well, right? You see the trigger there. It's got that bingo, around 190. You got the squeezes here. All right, so things are looking, pretty positive there. Again, into the home, the home improvement space here. These stocks they're prime. Here's another one, Masco. Okay, you can see the flag. It's just sitting out there, just looking at you, right? Bingo. And then that's what typically happens with these patterns. And so I do like those, and I think that these stocks will, no matter what happens in the market, I think they're still going to be good, because it don't matter if it's a Trump or Biden or whatever the case may be. People are, still, buying homes and still need that. These companies are going to be benefiting from that. And we're seeing that with the exodus coming out, people coming out of, Cali, and people coming out of New York, moving more down south. You need more homes. So I think that's interesting. Oh, he says, let's see, Lowe's took off last week. Okay, so you already got your money off for Lowe's. Okay, good. HD want to move. Yeah, you can see Home Depot. Let's see what's going on with Portland General Electric. All right, so this is a counter trend trade, but I think you're looking at the flag on it on a weekly. And then if we dial into the daily, we can see it squeeze. Now it's popping up above its 200 moving average, which is a positive sign here. So in the energy space, I think this looks pretty good for right now. Portland General Electric. Yeah. Let me just take it from this high to this low here. All right. So you got a $50 target on this one here, Ron. Again, we got the squeeze that's in here, trend moving up, stochastics moving up, price is above its moving averages. If the squeeze fires long, then we should have a $50 target in here. So for that case, I'm bullish. I like it. Yeah, utilities looking good. And then MRK, Marco. This one is looking all right. I don't really have a clear setup on this thing. Price is getting a little iffy here. But if we dial into it a little more, just to get, to define the move a little more, all right, we can see, how it bounced off of that 100, moving average floor right there. And now it's going for another bounce up. No clear pattern. It's looking a little raggedy, but this could potentially make a move. But I don't like the setup. I don't have a clear setup on it. But if we can take a look at this zone right here, the 786, it keeps hitting. Then we can, say that's a good place. A couple of dollars here. But I don't really have anything for this one, though. I don't really like it. But, do as you please. You see earnings coming up, so just be mindful of that. But the first play I definitely like. What else he had? What do you think about Walmart squeeze? Took a position last week and it breached one of your levels on Friday. Held tight, though. Yeah, Walmart, interesting. Because we got retail levels this past week. I don't think I went further back in the charts, but the retail levels came back. And they were not good, actually. The retail sales came back lower. And, big sale day. And then their head tech guy left. That's just not good. But I think that for long term, Walmart is doing, I think they're doing great. They got the new Walmart Plus thing. And it's kind of like Amazon, I guess, where you can order stuff and they deliver it to you. I think that's going to be big for Walmart. And Walmart prices, people still can't compete with Walmart prices. I hate going to Walmart. It's a lot of walking and stuff like that. But certain things you have to get from Walmart. If you got kids, and like I know, when it comes times to get some cereal, you need to go to Walmart for that because they got the huge. I didn't even know. Like I went there maybe a month or 2 months ago, and they got these super huge boxes of cereal. And I'm like, I got teenage kids. I just dropped my daughter to college, so. But my son, he's like eating big bowls of cereal, and that cereal lasts a long time. So Walmart, they still got the clutch on the market that I don't think you should worry about with that. But in this position, if you're managing this position, which I believe that you are, it is not looking good for a management perspective. And I don't know how far you are, but this is actually not looking good. We see it came down from here. It came here and it fell underneath the moving average. Once we caught that break, it's like, yeah, you got to stop right at the floor. Yeah, I will be looking to exit that and just, and accept it as a loss. But, sometimes you get shooken out of positions where it'll come down to the floor and it'll maintain, it'll hold, and then you already got out and you'll be upset, kicking yourself in the ass, about it. But because if we look at here, right, we see the stochastics going down, right? We got the sell trigger, all that was in here. We got the sell trigger here, but then that squeeze on it, trend coming down. I mean, if this thing fires, off, it's not going to be good. We can definitely see this thing come down to the 200 moving average. So I would just, if it was me, again, it's no advice, but, for me, I'll be looking to, go ahead and scratch that position. Because the charts is not, it's broke your formation right up here. That was a breaking point that set up just was not it's not gonna work. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting. And then you have like other stocks like Amazon, who's still playing around here. It's still holding up at the 100. But it looks like it's trying to break, and that's going to be interesting again. And again, we had those retail sales, and they came back weak for December, and I don't think that's good. And so, again, you have a lot of people losing jobs, and they're those retail numbers did not hit expectations. People didn't spend as much money, and we got Martin Luther King Day tomorrow, but who spend money on Martin Luther King Day? Like maybe some Black history type stuff you spending money on, but that's not enough to juice the economy. We, end of the month, December holiday time is when you're supposed to get that boost, and we didn't get it. So those retail numbers are looking weak, and I think that that's troublesome. But what's keeping people optimistic is that Trump came through with the $600, as I say, 100. My daughter says 100, Daddy. Okay, so $600. They're expecting for that to come back into the market, but that's not enough when they know it's not enough. So Biden is looking to get his 2,000 off, and then you got tax season coming. Yeah, but that's another interesting thing because you got a lot of people that were out of work. How much tax revenue did the government even collect? Right? I don't even think it's much. But I think that they're looking at people getting tax refunds back, $2,000 checks plus $2,000 total in checks, and then that money can get spent. And then by the summertime, so I think that we'll get a dip, coming into this whole situation here. But then by the summertime, the way that they got it lined up, it looked like it may pit back up. So we'll see. Meantime, you got oil prices, and oil prices. They got a target on oil at about $65 a target, $65 target. In fact, I got it up here. Let's see, here we go. So I got oil up here and I got that $65 target. Let me just bring it down so we can see where we are. But oil, again, the whole energy sector was just terrible last year. But it's coming up. It's coming up now. And this is not good. This is inflationary, right? Because this cost is going to get passed on to everything. And we can see it's holding that non-moving average. That's why I drew this line so you can see prices bouncing and holding that non-moving average. It came up, and you got that $55 target as a resistance zone. It is in a overbought territory, so we have to see, how this thing is going. But with the Saudis cutting oil, cutting supply, and then you have vaccines. People getting vaccines, whether the vaccines work or not, it gives people some kind of mental security, and then they feel more confident they can just go out. And so the expectation is that they can revive the economy with these vaccines, although vaccine stuff is not going as according to the way they want it to go. So now they're trying to get companies to bribe people into getting these vaccines. They're giving bonuses, they get all kinds of stuff. So it's just crazy. I'm like, anytime you got to be bribed to do something, you probably don't need to do that. So anyway, but you got people that's being bribed, so they're hoping that people start taking those things, and then once they take it, they have the mental, state that, oh, I'm good, so I'll be able to go out. Although they even came out and said that you still got to wear masks, you still got to do this stuff. There's no guarantee, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, people are just got to understand. People are irrational. People do not study. They are irrational. So your expectations that people are going to be irrational about this thing, and so the expectation that people are going to go out and the economy is supposed to come back because you had demand for oil, right? Because that should come up. So at a time when you have, demand that's supposed to be coming back for oil, and then you got Saudis cutting supply. I mean, it's the only way this should go is up. You know what I mean? Oil, Hess, XOM, those are the plays that we've been, having in the group in the chat room, and they've been doing well. And I think they're going to continue to do well. So we've got to keep our eyes on oil as well. It is in a little overbought territory. You may get a little pullback, but it's holding the non-moving average. I think if we get a pullback to the 20, that would be probably a indication of another rally up higher. But I think this year oil is just going to go up. We're going to see inflation, and I don't know if it's going to be the inflation that the government want, but we're seeing inflation now in the cost of food and stuff like that, price of food and stuff like that. It's just crazy. So anyway, yeah, that's what we have here for this week here. Make sure you guys, invite somebody to the website, send a couple, emails out. You can do it right from your profile page. Help us get this thing popping. Other than that, I think that you guys should be good. Any other questions, let us know, man. And I'll let you guys get to it and we'll catch up in the markets. Not tomorrow, but on Tuesday. Okay. So on Tuesday, you guys can relax and chill out. All right. So y'all have a good night and we'll catch up. Peace.